You're listening to Motherhood in Between, the show for moms who want to rebuild their bodies, reclaim their energy, and keep pursuing the lives they're called to during the season between babies. I'm your host, Lauran Saunders, registered dietitian, mom of 2 and counting, and founder of Nourished Moms Collective. I help moms recover from their last pregnancy, prepare for their next one, and support their bodies and ambitions in the in-between season of motherhood. Because motherhood shouldn't mean depletion, and your dreams don't disappear when you become a mom. So whether you're rebuilding your health, rediscovering your identity, or growing something meaningful alongside your family, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Let's talk about why so many moms are so depleted after they have a baby. Now, maybe you are just barely out of the newborn phase. Maybe you're starting to sleep a little bit more. You're getting your groove with a new baby. Or maybe you have a toddler running around the house. You're 2 years postpartum and you are trying to move on with your life. Maybe you have both. Maybe you got a baby and you have a toddler. Maybe you feel like your sleep is finally getting a little bit better, a little bit more predictable. Maybe it's not. But regardless of any of this, your body still feels a little bit off. Your energy is low. Maybe it's low whether you slept 3 hours or 8 hours. You still wake up exhausted. Your patience feels thinner than it used to. You never thought that you'd be the type of mom to have mom rage, and maybe it slips through a little bit. Maybe you're experiencing that mom brain or the brain fog where it seems like your thoughts are just buffering and it takes a little bit longer, or you might be more forgetful, not able to multitask quite like you used to when it came to thinking about all the things that you have to do. Maybe you're a year postpartum and your hair is still shedding and you thought that that was supposed to stop after just a few months. And maybe you've experienced a combination of a lot of this and you're just thinking to yourself, is this just motherhood now? Because so many women are experiencing the exact same thing, that it seems like all of the moms are exhausted, running around, tired, overstimulated, living on caffeine, and just trying to get through another day with their young kids. What moms are experiencing in this season is not just that they are tired or running on broken sleep. It is often true physiological depletion, but it's not talked about or taught to moms, and today we're going to talk about why that happens. After my first baby, I remember feeling incredibly depleted. My energy was really low all the time, even when my daughter started sleeping through the night and I could sleep a full 8 hours. I was waking up and I was not very rested. This is something that some moms, they'll admit to me, they're kind of scared to admit it, but I experienced this as well, where after months postpartum, I started to feel like my teeth were not as mineralized as they used to be. And many moms will say this and think it's like some crazy weird off thing, but it's actually more common than people actually believe. And I started dealing with that, where it felt like my teeth just weren't as strong and mineralized as they were before. I felt like my body couldn't quite keep up. I was dealing with brain fog, and the type of brain fog where I would empty the dishwasher and I would get a fork and I would go sit it in the fridge and go about my day, and I would come back in the afternoon and be like, why is there a fork in the fridge? Now, I have one of those more overachiever type A personalities, and I prided myself on really being on top of my game at all times. But that first year of motherhood really knocked me down and humbled me. And this is when I really started to dive into mineral replenishment and the demand that our body goes through in pregnancy and postpartum and what that does to our mineral reserves. For me, I started doing daily mineral mocktails, and that became a non-negotiable. And if you have followed me on Instagram, I've been preaching about it for the last 2 to 3 years now as well. But the simple way to explain this is that during pregnancy, your body transfers so many minerals directly to your baby. Key minerals that we need to function day in and day out: magnesium, calcium, potassium, sodium, iron, zinc, so many minerals. And your body tries to prioritize giving baby what they need, and often mom is left running low. And if we're not intentionally replacing those minerals, we can continue to be low for years to come. And then we have another pregnancy and it just starts to compound this depletion. And when this happens, we start to notice things like prolonged hair shedding. When it comes to postpartum hair shedding, we absolutely cannot prevent it simply because we are shedding what we typically would have shed when pregnant. However, with all of our hormones in pregnancy, it actually slows down our hair shedding. So it seems like there's a mass exodus postpartum because we are losing what we should have lost while pregnant, but then also what we are naturally losing for that cycle of hair growth. The issue is that if we are dealing with certain nutrient depletion, mineral imbalances, things like that, we can actually shed more. Like I said, there's nothing we can really do to stop the postpartum hair shedding. However, that typically should only last a few months of losing what you should have lost in pregnancy, and then our body is back to its normal rhythm. But when we're dealing with that depletion, that's when we have the prolonged hair shedding. And so many moms that I've talked to who are a year postpartum still dealing with that hair loss. With this depletion, we also experience extreme fatigue, and the kind of fatigue that sleep doesn't really help. It's like that bone tired feeling where we're just exhausted down to our core. And that's where you can sleep for 3 hours or you can sleep for 8 hours and you are still feeling so tired. This is also where a lot of women, if we're in that like bounce back culture mindset, if we're trying to lose the postpartum weight, if we're exercising a lot, this obviously is not going to help with that fatigue as we are burning through even more resources and we're not intentionally replenishing it. This depletion can also make you more prone to anxiety and more depression and some mental health irregularities. It also makes it a lot harder to handle stress, and our body becomes less tolerant to stress, and little things that might not have set you off before tend to set you off now. And this is where a lot of moms start to experience mom rage later on at postpartum, something they never expected to have. And then all of a sudden, it seems like your temper is just so short and you're just not handling things as well as you used to. We can also experience muscle tension if we are really depleted, feeling like our body just can't relax, poor recovery, feeling really sore after workouts, or even, I know I have talked with moms who feel really sore and exhausted even after going on a walk because their body is so incredibly depleted, and we just don't have the nutrient reserves to support that day in and day out recovery, that short-term recovery needed. And of course, all of this can leach into poor sleep and not being able to fall asleep, not being able to stay asleep, waking up and having a hard time falling back asleep, not feeling rested afterward. And we have this continued compounding effect when our body is under this stress. That in and of itself is further depleting our nutrient reserves. A lot of these are often reflecting mineral depletion. And minerals are critical for regulating our body's stress response. And as I mentioned, our stress tolerance can drop when our minerals are depleted. And I don't know about you, but I know that I want to have more babies. And I know that I need to be able to handle the stress that more kids bring. And not being tolerant to that, I know is going to be a recipe for disaster. So a priority for myself and for a lot of my clients is supporting their minerals so that they can actually support the stress response needed to mother multiple young children. One piece that I think nobody likes to hear, but it's the fact that stress itself burns through our mineral reserves even faster. So we are depleted, which makes it harder for us to tolerate stress. And then because we're so stressed, we're actually getting even more depleted. We're burning through those reserves. And this is where so many women will tell me, well, what do I do? How do I decrease my stress? I have a baby. I have a toddler. I can't do all of these things. Well, I want you to do this little assessment and kind of pay attention as we go throughout your day. So maybe your mornings start with a crying baby or a blaring alarm clock or a toddler yelling for you before you've had any food or any caffeine or anything in your system. Before you even get out of bed, you are already needed by someone else. And then the day continues where you make breakfast for yourself, maybe for a toddler who's really picky and doesn't want to eat what you've provided for them, or you're trying to juggle eating but also feeding a baby. You have to manage schedules, yours, your child's, maybe your spouse's schedule, and trying to work in family functions and extracurricular activities. You're booking appointments, going to appointments. Maybe you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding, you're feeding kids. Maybe you have a job on top of all of this where you have to go to work and you're running a household, and your body and your brain have no time to actually shut down and relax. It is always on. If this was a similar description to your typical day, it's no surprise that so many moms feel like their nervous system is constantly on edge and they don't know how to actually relax or de-stress. You might notice that you are snapping at your partner more, or you're feeling so overwhelmed by small things that should not make you feel overwhelmed. You have that mom rage or anxiety or irritability, or even the opposite, where you feel emotionally flat by the end of the day and you just want to check out, you want to scroll, you don't want to deal with anybody. The fact of the matter is that many moms today are living in a constant fight or flight mode. Their nervous system is always on, and when our nervous system stays in that fight or flight state for a long period of time, it continues to deplete our nutrients. It worsens the fatigue and all of the symptoms we experience. It can make our recovery that much harder. It can start to impact our hormones, our fertility hormones, making it harder to get pregnant again. Even if you had a really easy time getting pregnant the first time, many women find that they start to struggle as they try for subsequent babies because their body is so depleted and you're starting at a completely different place than you did the first time. Pregnancy, postpartum, and mothering small children are nutritionally expensive. Pregnancy alone is incredibly demanding on the body. I mean, you literally build an entire human, right? That requires a lot of protein, a lot of micronutrients, minerals, calories, metabolic energy. A huge demand placed on your body. And then right after birth, if you're breastfeeding, that can require an extra 300 to 500 calories per day, plus fats, plus other micronutrients and fluids and all sorts of things. And that constant nutrient transfer goes to baby, and your body is working incredibly hard. And yet, culturally, we often hear messages like, you got to get your body back. Have you lost the baby weight yet? We put that pressure on ourselves to fit into the pair of jeans that we had before we had children, which, by the way, that was completely me. This is a side note, but I had a pair of really, really nice Mother jeans, the brand Mother, that I bought about 9 months before I got pregnant with my daughter. I loved them. They fit like a glove. I felt so good and confident wearing them. And I got pregnant, and I am now 4 years post that baby, and I've come to accept that I'm probably never going to fit into that particular size, at least not while I am in these baby years, and that's okay. However, because of the pressure from society, I also put that pressure on myself after my first baby to try and fit back into those old jeans. And there's very little conversation out there for everyone that prioritizes actually replenishing your body first. Like I said, pregnancy, postpartum, breastfeeding, it is so nutritionally expensive, and yet we're not taught to replenish that expense. I can't tell you how many moms come to me and say, I went to my doctor, we ran all of these blood tests, and they told me that everything looked normal. But I went to my doctor because I was so exhausted, I'm really anxious, I'm not sleeping well, my menstrual cycle is off, it's really unpredictable, and I feel like something isn't right. And yet, all of my labs came back normal. I just want to validate you. If you have lived through that, or if you've experienced that, that is so frustrating. And it often leaves moms feeling really dismissed because you know in your body that something is off, that something isn't right. Even if, those labs come back and on paper, it seems like things should be fine. The reality is that standard labs are designed to detect disease states, but they're not designed to measure optimal nutrient levels, our hormones metabolism, our mineral balance, or our gut health. in all of those things that do impact so many of the symptoms that moms experience after they have babies. In my practice, Nourished Moms Collective, we use things like mineral testing, GI map, gut testing, and Dutch hormone testing because these tests help us see how the body is actually functioning. It takes more of a root cause look at what's going on, and they together create a really beautiful picture of exactly what it is your body needs and why you're feeling exhausted, why your menstrual cycle might be off, why you are still shedding hair, or why you have had acne flare postpartum in your adult life. And so many questions that many moms experience, but it seems there's no answers easily available to them. When we run these tests, this is where my clients tell me that they feel so validated and like they don't feel crazy because previous labs had come back as normal and they could tell that something wasn't normal, but having a clear plan and a clear roadmap in front of them is what actually gets them to feeling so good in their body and no longer dealing with the exhaustion, the brain fog, the irritability, the extended hair shedding. That becomes a thing in the past when we can get real answers onto where their body is actually depleted and how to fix it. If you are experiencing any of these things that I've talked about today, the exhaustion, the irritability, the hair shedding, the acne, or just feeling like your body hasn't quite, quote unquote, bounced back, I don't want you to feel guilty or feel any mom shame. What those symptoms are really telling you is that your body is asking for support. It's telling you that your body is still very depleted from your last pregnancy and postpartum and mothering your small children, and that your body can use a little bit of TLC. The daily demands of motherhood ask an incredible amount from your body. So it does make sense that many moms feel so depleted in this season. And the good news is that there is a way out of it. You can absolutely focus on nourishing and replenishing your body right now, prioritizing your minerals, getting those daily mineral mocktails in. If you are not already, you should start that. But if anything, I hope you feel some hope from this episode. If you are in this super depleted motherhood state, you do not have to stay that way forever. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another mom who's navigating this in-between season too. And if you are looking for additional support replenishing your body between pregnancies, you can learn more about my work at nourishedmomscollective.com. In the next episode, we're going to dive into how to start preparing your body for a future pregnancy while still supporting your recovery from the last one. We'll see you there.